Hi guys, welcome back and hello if you are new. I hope all of you are having a great start to February. I can't believe we've already had a month of 2023 already. It feels like it's just kind of flown by. Returning after their hugely successful debut album that was Tortured Whole, SANGUISUGABOGG continue their barbaric evolution in the form of their brand new album, Homicidal Ecstasy. So if you're not familiar with SANGUISUGABOGG, they are a band who have a pretty crazy name, which basically means blood demon or, blood-sucking demon kind of thing. And apparently I've been told it's also an anagram for bloody toilet. So you learn something new every day. The band were signed to Century Media off the back of their originally released Maggot Stomp EP under the name of Pornographic Seizures, and then released Tortured Whole later on to kind of follow up from that. And it was a very well received album. Lots and lots of people liked it. In all honesty, I kind of liked Tortured Whole, but I wasn't blown away by it. I thought it was a little bit formulaic, and I think the production just wasn't quite up my street. On Homicidal Ecstasy, however, I think that there's been a definite growth in the band. And really, it almost sounds like there's two different bands that I'm listening to when I put Tortured Whole and Homicidal right next to each other. And I guess for good reason, because there has been a lineup change in the band. Their original bassist has now moved to guitar, and Drew has also started playing guitar as well. So that's two, I think, fairly important changes in a band. It's a lot more varied as an album, and there are some nice surprises, as we can see on Fiending for Bloodshed. There's mostly far more growth in each track this time around, aside from the times when they just want to go for it, like I think it's about 1.5 minutes long, which is Hungry for Your Insides. Even the lyrics have been tightened up. It's a lot more serious. There's kind of, more of a belief in what they're saying rather than just kind of like just being funny. But they still have that charisma, of course. And off the back of the release of Tortured Whole, the big bad Bog went on tour with Cannibal Corpse, Nile, Full of Hell, Undeath, and Frozen Soul. And I really think that you can definitely tell that there's been an influence on, touring with those bigger bands, particularly Cannibal Corpse, Nile, and Full of Hell. And I think that influence has sort of trickled down into the songwriting of this album. But weirdly though, there's also a kind of association with, I think, early Slipknot in their sound and Meshuggah on Black Market Vasectomy, A Lesson in Savagery, and Testicular Rot. But that death metal groove is always pulling you back in the form of Cannibal Corpse, I felt, on Pissed, and then Skin Cushion, and also Mortal Admonishment reminded me of Nile. There's also no interludes this time around, which I kind of liked. It was just straight up death metal the whole way through, no kind of messing around. I think just overall this album feels like it has more identity, and that SANGUISUGABOGG are getting to that place. I've got to say though, drums are probably my favourite part of this record. They hit exactly as hard as they need to be. They're also quite flight-footed when needs to be, and that sound of the ride literally just sounds like a dinner bell for cannibals. I love it. And Proclamation of the Frail I thought was cool because it has this sort of like drum solo section in it, which, the riff is still kind of going on, but again reminded me of that sort of vibe of Nile. And most importantly, I think, and this was a bugbear of mine, as I mentioned, was the production. The production is absolutely fantastic. The record was produced by Davidson, but the mixing was handled by Kurt Ballou, and he works his magic in absolute perfect style here. It still sounds squishy, mulchy, and gross, but it has that sense of clarity and power that makes it literally feel like you're being pummeled with a 2x4 piece of wood. I also like the fact that the guitar tones are reminiscent of 90s death metal bands, but still sound very, very contemporary as well. And the bass sometimes just sounds like a chesty cough, if that makes sense. But all of these put together create that Sanguisugabogg mulchy sound. Identity, I think, is perhaps the most important part of a band. And on Homicidal Ecstasy, I think that Sanguisugabogg have actually found theirs. It's slicker, smarter, and overall entirely better, I think, than Tortured Whole. And I may not have been a fan of the starter, but I'm absolutely loving the main course. So thank you ever so much for checking out this album review. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know what you think of the album and the video in the comments underneath me. Also, please do hit that like and subscribe. It definitely helps me out. And other than that, I will see you next week for another album review. Take care, my friends.